I want to start with a topic that I know is dear to many, and that is cannabis. That's marijuana. And Rudy Reyes joins us. He's the vice presidential nominee of the Legalize Marijuana Now party. Hi, Rudy.
How you doing, Mark?
I'm well. You know, I'm a passionate advocate for those of you who are marijuana users. I don't get high myself, but I never understood why this substance, which has medicinal properties and has, curative properties and all these properties that involve health, shouldn't be legal, even as alcohol, which I think has none of those things probably, is legal.
Well, you're looking at something that does go back to alcohol and prohibition. Unfortunately, United States got caught in this situation where we've been allowed to, misthink that cannabis is evil. As Harry Anslinger himself tried to push, it was more deadly and more monstrous than Frankenstein himself. And that's an actual quote from back in those days. It was something that the paper companies and various other companies like Nylon decided would only destroy their business, so they fought it from the get-go.
The paper companies? Why were they worried about it?
Well, when you realize that they were, selling newspapers and hemp alone could completely change and revolutionize that whole industry, they were fighting that.
Rudy, I love that you're such a historian on this. Really, you have such a sort of granular knowledge of it all. And yet your own personal story is so compelling. You found relief through cannabis for chronic pain as a result of injuries that you suffered during fire.
Correct. Before my injuries, I was and am an archaeologist. So I have a really good history background and understanding of what happened. Because of my injuries, I was injured in the 2003 San Diego wildfires, which at the time was, considered one of the biggest fires in the world. I mean, I was getting hero letters from Japan. I was getting all kinds of, keep it going type deal. And I didn't know at the time that my life would be drastically changed so much by this simple plant. As I was in the hospital, they had the problem with me slowly overdosing on these hardcore narcotics they were giving me. So the only option, at least according to my doctor at the time, was to try to get me off them completely. And he was going to try this experimental cannabis idea.
And it's funny, as I was learning about your story, I learned that the cannabis didn't work to alleviate the pain so much as it did to sort of take your mind away from the pain.
Exactly. It was more like, and to give you a good metaphor, it was like I was watching TV or Gilligan's Island, to where the pain wasn't the main concern on my brain and constantly causing me issues. I was able to divert it into other things and enjoy life. And that was the big change. That was the big thing for me.
So, when you get out of the hospital from this incredible experience, I mean, it was, you're lovely, not to dwell on all the details of the fire, but it really was quite intense. I mean, you had this inferno going on as you ran through it, from what I understand, right?
I don't mind talking about the details. It's just people don't like getting involved. I mean, I ran through 20 feet of flames. I was no less than 10 feet away from 20-foot fire on both sides of me. It was a tunnel that I had to run through of no flame because, our roads have the 10-foot clearance on each side. So because of that, I had something to run out of. But the reality is, most of my injuries that you see are not from catching on fire. My injuries are from radiant heat. Literally at 400 degrees, the skin melts. So those fires being guessed about 2,000 to 3,000 degrees at the time, because they found my car melted the next day. I mean, I'm lucky to be here. I'm a 75% burn survivor. I lost a finger. I lost an ear, and a lot of skin damage, a lot of work was done to keep me around. The whole point of that is I have to fight also to keep myself going and to make it better for others. That's my give back.
And I do want to talk about that in just a second. Before I leave the full story, though, of the fire, when you got out of the hospital and the injuries from the fire, it wasn't necessarily a smooth transition. I think you had issues with the cops raiding your place. It was sort of your story is kind of bizarre.
I wasn't. Okay, again, I was a teacher. So the way I was expected to do it was take care of your own and keep it nice and quiet. So I started to do exactly that. I started to take care of my own medicine, medical cannabis, growing my own plants and doing my own thing. Well, during this whole time, and I didn't know that my county of San Diego had been opposing the medical cannabis laws here in California since their inception. So it became a thing of fighting against this county. And next thing I knew, I was raided. They came to my house. There was a knock. They came to check to see what I was growing. As soon as they found out I was growing at all, it was handcuff you, sit down on the couch while we take, raid, look at whatever money you had, and they pretty much took it and left me with a card. They never arrested me. They never took me to jail. They never did any of that. Instead, they left me with a district attorney card and said for me to contact him Monday. My option on that Saturday was turn to the media and allow the media to blow this up because I am a nationally recognized hero, especially at this time.
Right, at that time, everybody knew you. They didn't know you were Rudy Reyes?
That was the big thing. A lot of those cops did know exactly who I was, and they did know my story. And at the time, they were just thinking they were doing their job, doing a federal raid because San Diego specifically was looking at federal laws. So it turned into a thing of contact the district attorney, contact the media. I contacted the media, and the media blew it up, and we made San Diego look horrible that night. Long story short, I get a call from the district attorney. 2 weeks later, they're dropping all charges and telling me so long as I stay within medical marijuana, I really won't have an issue with them.
So this led you to a life of advocacy and to political advocacy, again, sort of in service of this goal, which is to legalize marijuana.
Correct. What ended up happening after that was the county of San Diego decided that they were going to sue on a federal level, stating that the medical cannabis laws in California were not up to federal standards, and there we went. So we waited for the federal appeals court. Long story short, the federal appeals court wouldn't hear the case from the county of San Diego. I de facto won. So we fought over that medical marijuana ID card there then, and I won that too. I found out that my problem wasn't really with the people of California, it was with the politicians and the fact that they themselves didn't want to make any changes in the laws. They were just dragging their feet as much as possible.
And why were they dragging their feet, Rudy? This is always an interesting thing to me. The political side of this seems marked by what you're talking about, delays and feet dragging. And yet we know that the legalization of marijuana has tremendous popular support.
My best answer for you is they're pulling to their political basis, which has been so anti-marijuana, anti-pro-police, just nonstop this cycle that we live in here in the United States, that they didn't realize that the public had changed, that they didn't realize that things were going against them, and they decided to just fight the best they could.
And so now you've seen in California the legalization of marijuana. I mean, it really, like if you cut to today in this movie, you have to be, on the one hand, gratified by what you see, but California has, you could argue, mishandled this whole thing.
And I wouldn't say so much California mishandled it. The people knew what they were doing when they were proposing these laws and ordinances. The mishandling was county by county, politician by politician. Unfortunately, this law went county by county, allowing those supervisors to manage and approve. And a lot of the county supervisors decided not to just go forward with it, postpone it as much as possible. And in doing that, they created laws which hurt the public more than helped it.
So you're saying that the local ordinances, as handled by those to whom you've just referred, those local ordinances make it tough to even know exactly what laws apply in various places in California?
Well, look at how it is. If I go to LA, Los Angeles County, I mean, they've legalized and you can find a shop on every other corner pretty much. I mean, not that extreme, but for a minute it was like Starbucks. Here in San Diego, they've made all shops illegal. Only delivery drivers are legal, but that's actually catch-22 because they want to catch you driving around with it. So the way you look at this is, how am I, as one patient in California, which is one state, and I should be allowed to take whatever I need, my medication is wherever I need it, but every jurisdiction has a different law.
So tell me about your campaign as the vice presidential nominee for the Legalize Marijuana Now party.
We have a platform which is based on, number one, legalization of hemp across the nation for the industrial use. We need that to be able to change our nation. It will make big changes in regards to paper, plastic, oils, all of that. Our second arm would be medical marijuana. We need patients like me to have access to marijuana no matter what. And simply put, we think that those two are not big arms to ask, especially currently with the situation we're in. We need money. And we need a way to handle these people so that they don't have to be caught on hardcore narcotics. The last arm of our party is the idea of complete legalization so that people won't be going to jail and won't be suffering from that anymore. I mean, we're not asking for much, although if we're allowed to make these changes, it'll change our society.
Would you envision a society where people are getting high and lighting up on the street like they do cigarettes? Or do you see a more restricted type arrangement where you don't have like open drinking, let's say beverage containers on the street? In other words, in a perfect world for Rudy, what would it look like?
Well, I've learned, especially me running for politics, everything requires regulations. Everybody needs, boundaries and barriers and how to handle this. Cops need, how far to go and how far they can't go. So of course there has to be some type of regulation set down. We can't just be smoking in the streets and enjoying it like it was tobacco in the 70s and 80s. No, unfortunately, there has to be some type of regulation set. But the regulations shouldn't be so stringent and hurtful that they literally destroy people's lives sometimes. And that's what's currently happening here in the United States.
Yeah, I don't understand why you still have to fight this fight, but you do, and I think you deserve congratulations for having gone through so much, and you use this marijuana as a palliative, and it was so effective, and that you now have it still within you to pursue this political battle. I say bravo. Again, Rudy Reyes, you can reach him at Rudy Reyes SD for San Diego on Twitter, at Rudy Reyes. Again, Rudy, what a pleasure to meet you and talk to you for a while.
I appreciate your time, Mike.
Yeah.
Or Mark, I apologize for that.
No sweat, no sweat. All the best, my friend.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.